The Canucks take on the Penguins, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Pittsburgh's minus 210, totals 5.5. We're 8-2 in our last 10 NBA tier package picks on BrockPage.com. And the good news is we have another NBA tier package pick going off here this evening. And if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that. And that's to sign up for a membership on my website at BrockPage.com. We currently have over 985 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you find yourself really enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. I'd love to connect with you on a daily basis. Tristan Jarry is in net for Pittsburgh. Thatcher Demko for Vancouver. Demko comes into today's start with a .905 save percentage. Meanwhile, offensively, the Canucks are averaging 33 shots on goal a game on the road. JT Miller's got 7 goals, 12 assists on the season. He's the team's leading points getter. Meanwhile, Hughes and Garland each have 14 points apiece. They're taking on a Pittsburgh team who cashed in on the puck line in just 60% of their home game. In just 30% of their home games. Pittsburgh's also in the bottom 10 in home goals allowed. The Pens are allowing 32 shots on goal a game at the PPG Paints Arena. Now, total-wise, the Pens are 60% to the under on their home ice. Meanwhile, the Canucks have gone 13-6 to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Vancouver plus 1.5, under 5.5 goals. Next matchup, Bruins Sabres, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Boston's minus 270, totals 5.5. Linus Ullmark for Boston, Aaron Dell for Buffalo. Despite a couple of bad starts for Dell, the Sabres have done a pretty good job cashing in on the puck line this year. They've covered the number in 60% of their home games. They've also covered in 61% of their contests for the entire season. The Sabres score more second-period goals than any other team in hockey. Tage Thompson has 8 goals thus far in the season, 13 total points. Meanwhile, Rasmus Dahlin has 9 assists and a dozen total points for Buffalo as well. The Sabres find themselves in the top 10 in third-period scoring at home. They're taking on a Boston team who's cashed in on the puck line in just 40% of their contests this season. Buffalo's also in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per game, bottom 5 in third-period scoring as well. Now, total-wise, Buffalo's 60% to the over at the KeyBank Center. The Sabres are also 11-7 to the over for the whole year. Meanwhile, Boston went 6-2 to the over in their last 8. I'm going to lean toward Buffalo plus 1.5, over 5.5 goals. Next game, Wild Devils, 7 o'clock Eastern puck drop. Minnesota's minus $1.15, total 6. Cam Talbot for Minnesota, Mackenzie Blackwood for New Jersey. Blackwood comes into today's contest with a .303 goals against average. The Devils lost 3 out of their last 4 contests, bottom 10 in goals allowed per game. Meanwhile, offensively, the Devils are in the bottom 3 in first-period scoring as well. They're taking on a Minnesota team who's got a winning record on the road, and they're in the top 3 in road scoring. Ryan Hartman scored 9 times on the season, plus 10 when he's on the ice. Meanwhile, Joel Eriksson-Ek has 8 goals and a dozen points on the year himself. Now, defensively, Minnesota's allowing only 29 shots on goal a game. Cam Talbot's 9-5 with a .295 goals against average, .905 save percentage. When it comes to the total on this one, Minnesota's seen 61% of their contests for the season get over the line. Meanwhile, New Jersey's 6-3 to the over in their games at the Prudential Center. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota minus $1.15, over 6. Next game, Jets, Blue Jackets, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Winnipeg's minus 140, totals 5.5. Connor Hellebuck for Winnipeg. Elvis Merzlikins for Columbus. Elvis is 7-3 with a .269 goals against average, .918 save percentage. The Blue Jackets are 6-3 straight up at home, and they're also in the top 10 in home scoring. Boone Jenner has 9 goals on the season, 13 points for the center. Meanwhile, Oliver Bjorkstrand is the team's leading points getter with 18. They're taking on a Winnipeg squad who lost their last 3 straight, and they also got the W in just 2 out of 8 road games. Winnipeg's having a tough time scoring on the road. They're in the bottom 10 in the league in scoring on average per game when traveling. They're also in the bottom 3 in first period scoring on the road as well. Now, total-wise, 8 out of these teams' last 10 meetings got over the line. Meanwhile, Columbus is 6-3 to the over at home, 63% to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Columbus plus 1.5, over 5.5 goals. Next matchup, Flyers, Panthers, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Florida's minus 240, total 6. Sergei Bobrovsky for the Panthers, Carter Hart for Philadelphia. Despite some really good numbers out of Hart, the Flyers score fewer goals per contest on the road than any other team in hockey. The Flyers have also lost their last 3 straight, and they rank in the bottom 5 in second period scoring. They're taking on a Florida club who scores more goals per contest than any other team in the NHL. Anthony Duclair's got 9 goals thus far in the season, plus 14 when he's on the ice. And speaking of plus minus, defenseman Aaron Ekblad's a plus 17, which is second in the NHL. Florida's currently undefeated on their home ice. They're 10-0 straight up at the Florida Live Arena. And speaking of undefeated, Sergei Bobrovsky's 8-0 thus far in the year with a 199 goals against average, 937 save percentage. Now, injury-wise, Alex Barkov is still out for Florida. Marchment is questionable. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, Brassard and Hayes are questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, the Flyers have gone 75% to the under when traveling. They also saw 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Florida fall under the line. I'm going to lean toward the Panthers, minus 1.5, under 6. Next game, Habs, Caps, 7 o'clock East. Washington's minus $2, total 6. Ilya Samsonov for Washington. Jake Allen for Montreal. Allen's gotten the W in just 4 of 12 starts this season. Montreal's lost 7 out of their last 9 games. They've got just 1 road win on the year. 1-8 straight up when traveling this year. Right? Just 1 road win on the year. I think I said that. 1-8 straight up when traveling. The Canadiens allow more goals per contest than any other team in the NHL. Meanwhile, offensively, they're in the bottom 5 in road scoring. They're taking on a Washington team who won 6 out of their last 8. And they're giving up they're allowing just 25 shots on goal a game at home. Ilya Samsonov, 6-0 with a 211 goals against average, 924 save percentage. Meanwhile, scoring-wise, the Caps are in the top 5 in offensive goals per contest. Alex Ovechkin has 15 goals and 30 points on the season. He's a plus 13 when he's on the ice. Meanwhile, Yevgeny Kuznetsov has 16 assists and 22 points himself. Now, injury-wise, Oshie and Sheary are out. Backstrom still out indefinitely as well. Meanwhile, for the Habs, Paquette, Pezzetta, and Norlinder are questionable for them. Now, total-wise, Montreal's 5-4 to the over on the road this season, 6-2 to the over in their last 8 meetings with Washington. Meanwhile, the Caps are 5-4 to the over at the Capital One Arena. I'm going to lean toward Washington, minus 1.5, over 6 goals. Next contest, Blues, Red Wings, 7:30 Eastern start time. St. Louis is minus 130, total 6. Ville Husso for the Blues, Alex Nedeljkovic for Detroit. Netty's 4-3 on the season with a 283 goals against average, 914 save percentage. The Red Wings offensively are in the top 10 in second period scoring. Tyler Bertuzzi has 9 goals on the season, 17 points for the left winger. Meanwhile, Dylan Larkin scored 9 times already himself, 16 points for Larkin. They're taking on a St. Louis team who dropped 5 out of their last 7, and they rank in the bottom 10 in third period goals allowed on the road. As a matter of fact, the Blues have given up 3 goals or more in 7 out of their last 10 outings. Now, injury-wise, Bortuzzo is questionable for St. Louis. Meanwhile, for Detroit, Stahl and Seider are questionable for them. Detroit went 4-1 at the over in their last 5 against the Blues. 3 out of the Red Wings' last 4 contests this season got over the line as well. I'm going to lean toward Detroit plus $1.10 over 6. Next game, Rangers Islanders, 7:30 Eastern puck drop. The Rangers are minus 120, totals 5.5. Igor Shesterkin for New York. Semyon Varlamov for the Islanders. They're both New York. Varlamov for the Islanders. Varlamov's 0-3 with a .332 goals against average, .894 save percentage. The Owls have lost their last 6 straight. They score fewer goals per contest at home than any other team in hockey. They're taking on a Rangers club who has won 5 out of their last 6, and they have a winning record on the road. They're in the top 10 in scoring on average per game away from home. Chris Kreider has 13 goals thus far in the season. He's 4th in the NHL in that category. Meanwhile, Artemi Panarin has 15 assists and 19 points on the season himself. Now, defensively, the Rangers are in the top 5 in fewest first-period goals allowed. Igor Shesterkin's 9-3 with a .233 goals against average, .931 save percentage. Now, injury-wise, Reeves is still on the IR for the Rangers. Meanwhile, for the Isles, Bailey is out. Lee, Johnston, and Bellows are questionable. When it comes to the total in this one, the Islanders are 60% to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Rangers have gone 8-3 to the under when traveling this year. I'm going to lean toward the Rangers minus 120, under 5.5. Next game, it is going to be Golden Knights versus the Predators, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Nashville is minus $1.20, totals 5.5. UC Saros for Nashville, Robin Lehner for Vegas. Now, Lehner's got himself 8 wins thus far in the season, .913 save percentage for the netminder. Vegas won 7 out of their last 10, and they're in the top 3 in fewest road goals allowed. Meanwhile, offensively, Jonathan Marchessault has 9 goals thus far in the season, 13 points for the center. Meanwhile, Riley Smith has 8 goals himself, along with 6 assists. The Golden Knights are in the top 10 in scoring on average per game. They also may get Max Pacioretty back in the lineup here this evening. Looks like he's starting to get a little bit more healthy here. Now, they're taking on a Nashville club who dropped 2 out of their last 3, and they're averaging just 28 shots on goal a game. Needless to say, Nashville is currently in the bottom 5 in home scoring. Now, injury-wise, Forsberg is still out indefinitely for the Preds. Pacioretty and Martinez are questionable for Vegas. When it comes to the total in this one, the Knights went 5-4 to the under in their last 9 meetings with Nashville. Meanwhile, the Preds are 7-1 to the under at home. I'm going to lean toward the Vegas Golden Knights plus $1, under 5.5. Next contest, Ducks, Avalanche, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Colorado's minus 230, totals 5.5. Darcy Kemper for Colorado, John Gibson for Anaheim. Despite some really good numbers for Gibson, the Ducks have lost their last 2 straight, and they scored just 3 total goals during that stretch. The Ducks currently have a losing road record, and they're allowing 36 shots on goal a game when traveling. They're taking on a Colorado team who won their last 5 straight, and they also rank in the top 5 in home scoring. Nazem Kadri has 23 total points on the season, 6 goals, 17 assists for the center. Meanwhile, Gabe Landeskog is a plus 10, has 15 total points himself. Injury-wise, McKinnon's still out. Kaut is questionable. Meanwhile, for Anaheim, Enrique is questionable as well. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Anaheim's last 8 road games got over the number. Meanwhile, Colorado's 6-2 to the over at the Ball Arena, 80% to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Colorado minus 1.5, over 5.5 goals. Next matchup, Oilers, Coyotes, 10 o'clock Eastern puck drop. Edmonton's minus $2, total 6. Mikko Koskinen for Edmonton, Scotty Wedgwood for Arizona. Despite some fairly good numbers out of Wedgwood, the Coyotes have gotten the W in just 4 out of 19 contests this year. The Coyotes are in the bottom 3 in goals allowed per contest. Meanwhile, offensively, Arizona's averaging only 25 shots on goal a game. They're taking on an Edmonton team who has no problem putting the puck in the net. Leon Draisaitl leads the league in scoring with 18 goals. The center's also leading the NHL in points with 36. He's certainly been a man amongst boys. Meanwhile, Connor McDavid's the league leader in assists with 20. And when it comes to keeping the puck out of the net, Edmonton's also in the top 10 in third period goals allowed on the road. Mikko Koskinen's 9-2 with a .296 goals against average, .910 save percentage. When it comes to the injury report, Keith is questionable for Edmonton. Larson is out for Arizona. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Arizona's last 7 home games got over the number. Meanwhile, the Oilers are 12-6 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Edmonton, -1.5 over 6 goals. Next contest, Hurricanes, Kraken, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Carolina's -145, totals 5.5. Freddie Anderson for the Hurricanes, Philip Grubauer for Seattle. Now, Grubs is just 5-8 through 13 starts, .318 goals against average, .882 save percentage. The Kraken's in the bottom 3 in goals allowed per contest, 5-13 straight up overall for the season. Now, offensively, Seattle's averaging just 29 shots on goal a game. They're taking on a Carolina team who's 8-1 with an overtime loss on the road. The Canes also allow fewer goals per contest than any other team in hockey. Freddie Anderson's 11-2 with a .188 goals against average, .937 save percentage. And scoring-wise, Carolina's in the top 5 in road goals per contest. Sebastian Aho has 8 goals and 10 assists on the season. Meanwhile, Tony DeAngelo's a +12 and has 16 total points. Total-wise, Seattle's 80% to the over at home, 15-13 to the over for the whole year. Give me Carolina -145, over 5.5. Next game, Leafs, Kings, 10 o'clock East. Toronto's -160, totals 5.5. Jack Campbell for Toronto, Johnny Quick for Los Angeles. Now, Quick's putting up some incredible numbers this season. .188 goals against average, .939 save percentage. The Kings have successfully cashed in on the puck line in 60% of their home games. They're also 12-6 against the number overall for this season. LA's in the top 5 in goals allowed per contest. Meanwhile, offensively, the Kings are averaging nearly 37 shots on goal a game. Anze Kopitar has 8 goals thus far in the season, 17 total points for the center. Meanwhile, Adrian Kemp has 7 goals, 11 points on the year as well. When it comes to the number in this one, LA 70% to the under at home, 13-5 to the under anywhere. Meanwhile, Toronto's 5-2 to the under in their last 7 on the road, 70% to the under for the entire season. Give me the Kings +1.5, under 5.5. Next and final matchup, Senators, Sharks, 10:30 Eastern puck drop. San Jose's -165, numbers 5.5. James Reimer for the Sharks, Philip Gustafsson for Ottawa. Gustafsson's come into today's game with a .905 save percentage. The Senators are also in the top 10 in fewest road goals allowed. They're taking on a San Jose team who lost 6 out of their last 9 themselves. The Sharks are also in the bottom 3 in home scoring. They average only 28 shots on goal a game. Now, total-wise, 5 out of San Jose's last 8 home games fell under the number. They're also 67% to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, Ottawa's 63% to the under for the entire year themselves. Give me Ottawa +1.5, under 5.5 goals. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are 8-2 in our last 10 NBA tier package picks. I like Vancouver +1.5, under 5.5 goals. Buffalo +1.5, over 5.5. Minnesota minus $1.15 over 6 goals. Columbus plus 1.5 over 5.5. Florida minus 1.5 under 6. Washington minus 1.5 over 6. Detroit plus $1.10 over 6 goals. New York Rangers minus 120 under 5.5. Vegas Golden Knights plus $1 under 5.5. Colorado minus 1.5 over 5.5. Edmonton minus 1.5 over 6 goals. Carolina minus 145 over 5.5. LA plus 1.5 under 5.5 goals. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 8-2 in our last 10 NBA tier package picks on BrockPage.com. I'm going to lead toward Ottawa plus 1.5, under 5.5 goals. And with that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that's going to go to Nikki Muriel, who said earlier today, keep the winnings, Brock, while it's there. And certainly that is some great advice. You most certainly want to keep the winnings while they are indeed there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. If you guys end up getting a membership here today on that website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on BrockPage.com, you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of November. Although I do tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. Time is money. But anyway, guys, most importantly, gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Guys, be safe out there tonight. This is the #1 drinking day of the year. I'm not a huge drinker myself, guys, so it's not really significant to me, but I want you guys to be safe because there's a lot of idiots out there that aren't safe. They get tuned up and then they get in their car for whatever reason and they drive. So be safe out there, guys. If you got to stay home, stay home. No problem in that. If you want to throw a few back on your couch by yourself, no big deal. I've been there before. I've done it. But be safe out there, guys. It's not worth your life. And if you're drinking, cops are everywhere. They're doing their jobs. They're doing us a service. They're keeping drunk people off the road. This is something that they're doing that's a good thing. And I appreciate them for it. Don't drive drunk tonight. It's not worth it. So anyway, have fun. Have a good time. Get an Uber or get a DD. But be safe. I want the Brock Page family to stay intact here tonight. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. Gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.